So thank you for including me in today's session. I'm delighted to be able to tell you about healthy conversation skills, which you've just been hearing a little bit about. This is going to be the training that is going to be delivering the skills element of the ImpENSA training programme. And I'm going to tell you a little bit today about the background to it, some of the just where we've delivered it in the world, and just what that will look like for the ImpENSA programme. So why are we using healthy conversation skills? Well, we know that it's important to improve nutrition before and during pregnancy for mothers and babies in the first 1,000 days. And we know that healthcare practitioners have a really important role in supporting health behaviour change. There are millions of contacts between healthcare professionals and the general population every day all over the world. So they are key players in this space. So healthy conversation skills is an example of a large-scale sustainable intervention. It's being developed by psychologists, public health practitioners, nutritionists at the University of Southampton, and I'm the global lead for its development and delivery now. And we also looked at how we could increase self-efficacy, which is the sense that you're able to undertake an action. So the whole idea behind the training programme is that we increase the self-efficacy of our healthcare practitioners to be able to have what might sometimes be difficult, challenging or sensitive conversations, and in turn we increase the self-efficacy of our population to be able to undertake those first steps before towards improving health behaviours. The aim is for our frontline workers to make the most of every opportunity to support improvements in health, and the training was developed to provide skills that could be used opportunistically. So if you literally just have a couple of minutes with somebody, it's still possible to plant a seed to support them to think about what their next step might be. So you don't need to necessarily have a long period of time with someone to get the process started towards supporting change. We use a train-the-trainer approach to increase reach and sustainability. As only one of me, and as much as I love traveling the world and training new trainers, it is obviously much more sustainable if I can then train people within each context, within each country and each project as trainers. And as you've heard, that's the approach that we will be taking with ImpENSA. In the UK, I do consultancy work for Health Education England, particularly in the Wessex region, which is the south of England. And as a team, with all our new trainers, we've delivered the training to thousands of practitioners. I have about 3,000 evaluations that we're currently processing, and thousands more have been trained globally. The global ones are largely due to me being the starting point and then training trainers in those countries. And I just wanted to show you a little bit about where I've been in the world, not in the last year, sadly. So I'm really looking forward to all these borders opening back up and travel being allowed again. But you'll see, if you know where your own country is, that there is already a gold star over South Africa. And that's due to work that I've been doing with the University of Witwatersrand in Johannesburg, and also the research unit in Soweto. So we have already trialled this training and trained trainers in those settings to train field workers within Soweto to work with young women. In exactly the same sort of space that we're talking about with the training that we're doing with ImpENSA. So yeah, so we've tried this. What's been fantastic about this is getting the opportunity to see how the training works in different contexts, whether it's with Indigenous populations in Australia and New Zealand, whether it's in China. We're getting some sense of how this works in different parts of the world, which gives us more credibility and provides some provenance for this training, and how useful it can be in supporting practitioners. So just a little bit about our skills and our philosophy. So we have 4 key competencies that we focus on. This is about asking open discovery questions, reflecting on practice, spending more time listening, and supporting someone to make a smarter plan. And I'll tell you a little bit more about those in the next couple of slides. But these are all underpinned by a philosophy that we believe that people have solutions. That might only be the first step, but the reason we believe that is because they are the experts in their world. As much as we bring expertise in nutrition or psychology or other public health arenas, they are the only people that know exactly what their world looks like. So we can work with them by asking those questions and listening to them and helping them to make plans to identify and support them to think about their first small steps. We don't believe we're responsible for those choices. We're responsible for our practice and for being effective practitioners. But in the end, we have to give people that independence and autonomy, that they make the choices that feel like they're best for them. But absolutely, we have a role in supporting them to make the healthiest choices that they can make. We don't believe that giving information alone is enough to make people change, hence the makeup of this ImpENSA programme. So we have modules with information and knowledge, and we're underpinning that with the skills that you need in order for that knowledge to be translated into action. And we also steer away from trying to persuade people to change their habits. We know habits are ingrained. We know that they are automatic and unconscious and form a part of who we are. So actually what we want to do is to support people with the skills that I've described on the left, to be able to think about those habits, what the benefits might be to them for changing, what the barriers are and how they can overcome them. So we don't like the word persuade. It implies it's our agenda rather than the person we're working with. And I don't know if anyone's ever tried to persuade you to change something, but I suspect that they met with some resistance when they tried to do that. We all know change is hard and needs to come from within. So this quote came from a focus group we ran with young women from particularly deprived areas of Southampton. And this lady said, you know, you can give me the information, but you can't make me stop eating the 6 cream cakes, can you? I have to make that decision for myself. And this supported the belief that being given information, just telling people what they should do, just giving them pictures of the Eat Well plate, that's what we use in the UK, I suspect you have something similar, is not enough. We have to understand those broader factors that influence people's choices, and people need to be engaged in the process. They need to feel they're being listened to. The problem is that actually the most vulnerable people, who are the ones we probably most want to reach and engage with, are sometimes the hardest to engage with. That's why we've used this approach of training frontline practitioners, because of those frequent, regular, routine contacts that they have with the wider population. So by training practitioners in these skills, we see this as a way of breaking the cycle of deprivation and poor health behaviours that we've seen from some of the work we've done in Southampton and what the evidence tells us. So I said I'd come back to some of the skills. So you see on our framework here how we have open discovery questions at the top, and we have telling and suggesting, and you could add information giving, giving advice to the bottom. So our open discovery questions are how and what questions. It shouldn't come as any surprise that the reason we call them discovery is because we believe this helps you discover things about people. You can explore their worlds. And by doing that, you're showing a genuine interest and curiosity in people's situations and what's happening for them. By just telling and suggesting, as much as we want to fix people, as much as we feel that's helping, it's actually assuming that people don't know what we're telling them, that they maybe haven't tried what we're telling them, and the things that the advice or solutions we're providing for them, we're assuming they're going to fit in that person's world. So when we ask those open discovery questions, we're not making any assumptions about that person. So they're really key skills to have. SMARTER is our program, is the final competency that I mentioned before, which is how we help people plan for change. We know that if you can make a specific, measurable, action-orientated plan, it's much more likely that you're going to put those steps into practice. And this is one of the things that we go through in a great deal of detail in our training program and support practitioners to be able to help people make their next step. So what's the next step you could take? What would be good about that? What might make it difficult? So how could you overcome that? And supporting people to think about how they assess progress and how they review their goals, because we all know that goals can change, our lives change, and actually what's important is that we remain flexible. What's a good step for us today might not be the right step next week. So keep reviewing what you're doing, keep finding things that work for you. So my colleagues at Health Education England have developed this list of impacts of healthy conversation skills. So it develops communication skills to support change. It does promote this person-centered approach, which we are all very focused on providing, builds competence and confidence in our practitioners, supports the population to self-manage. It facilitates peer support, encourages staff well-being. So an added bonus of this is that staff often go away and change their own practices and think about things they could do better. So we have a two-tiered impact as we deliver this training. The skills are transferable, so you can take this kind of approach into any practice. So you may be working within a maternal setting in the first 1,000 days currently, but if you moved into other settings, these skills go with you and are equally applicable to conversations with other populations and in other contexts and settings. We promote the solution-focused approach, encourage this coaching culture, and it recognises that we all have a role to play in prevention and improving population health. Quickly going to go through some of the quotes we've had. So our practitioners and trainees have said, by asking the right questions, I can get more out of parents, empower them more. I'm going to be more aware of the techniques when talking to parents. It's made me see things in a different light, encouraged me to implement this into my practice. The training really showed me how to initiate meaningful, fruitful, and insightful conversation. And about the training, the practical exercises and demonstrations were useful. So we model these skills within our training program, which is very interactive and very trainee focused. Just a few photos of me in my very privileged position of being able to deliver training all around the world. The bottom left is my colleague Christina, who's been training in India. Then there's pictures here from my colleague, my trainers in Soweto and China, and the top middle one was the last training program I've been delivering in Australia. So yes, I'm very lucky. And some of the logos at the bottom represent some of our UK projects and international projects. And I'm very happy to answer any questions about any of these at the end of the talk today. And I just wanted to leave you with our infographic, which just gives you an overview of what the training is about, the philosophy, the competencies, highlighting those what and how questions, and just a little reminder for you. And with that, I'm going to close